What is going on, guys? JNC here for JNC Rewind number 9. And this time we're going to be doing the Royal Rumble of 1999.
Yeah, this was a very interesting show, especially for the match. But we'll get into that a little bit later, obviously.
Yeah, very interesting to say the least. This is in the WWF phase of things once again. This is our third time doing a Royal Rumble from that time period. We did the 92 Royal Rumble. We did the now 99. And we also did the 2001. Next in the lineup, actually, just to jump ahead to things, I guess you could just get it out there. We're going to be doing the 2002 Royal Rumble, which will also be during the WWF phase as well.
Yes.
But this Rumble, just a couple things just to nail off the bat. It took place January 24th of 1999. Anaheim, California, at the Arrowhead Pond, now known as the Honda Center, in front of 14,816. That was the recorded attendance figure. But this is definitely an interesting Rumble to do. This is a first 99 show. Definitely. When I saw this, when I was going down the list of Rumbles to cover or do for the rewinds, this is definitely one that I thought would be an interesting one to cover for many different reasons.
I would probably think one that I Quit match. That takes place,
and probably just the Rumble match itself.
Yeah, the Rumble match itself.
But those two probably enough to sell me on doing a rewind for sure.
Yeah.
It's honestly times that there's even one thing that could just stand out so much and make me want to cover it. As a good example, Armageddon 2008, when we did that show.
Because Jeff Hardy won the WWE title.
Jeff Hardy won the world title. I mean, that in and of itself was enough to get us to do a rewind off of it. But, so in this case, we had the I Quit match, had the Rumble match itself. But, and I'm pretty sure there'll be other shows down the road in the future that'll probably be the same exact way, but sell us on a thing or two. But without further ado, let's just get right on into it. We started out with the opening video package, which features the Austin versus McMahon and Corporation feud. Austin would draw number 1 in the Rumble, and Commissioner HBK would have Vince start out at number 2. They would play Vince's famous music, No Chance in Hell, which would, I guess, be the theme song for this pay-per-view, and they would sell that as the tagline for this event. We'd have the pyro and begin the show with the commentators for the evening, Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler.
What is this from episode 2008 Raw?
Yeah, later on, these would become the two announcers, the announce crew for Raw for a few years, or really, they'd have them as commentators on the same team for many years after, but
they actually commentated SmackDown together in the early days.
Yeah, they did. This is a very early Michael Cole on commentary. So we start out here with a singles match. This will be the opening contest, which will feature the Big Boss Man and Road Dogg. Very interesting opener, to say the least. Of course, a couple things to point out here. Big Boss Man was one half of the World Tag Team Champions at the time with Ken Shamrock. Road Dogg was also the Hardcore Champion, which I guess they said he had beaten Boss Man to become the Hardcore Champion.
But this was a non-title bout.
Yeah, so neither title would actually be at stake in this one. Not really much to say about the match here. Boss Man would hit his I forgot what they call it at this point, but I know it as a Black Hole Slam. I mean, done by Abyss. I mean, that's what I know it as. Who cares, I guess.
That's how we call it.
Yeah, that's what I know it as. So if anyone knows, feel free to correct me.
Yeah.
Oh, well. He'd pick up the win here off that. Not much to say about this match. I gave it a star and 3/4 here.
I think it was around the same, right?
Yeah, I think yours is 2 or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this is a whatever match to me. Don't have really much to say about it at all. The next, we have the Intercontinental Championship on the line, which will feature Ken Shamrock, who also was one half of the tag champs at the time, as we just pointed out, against Billy Gunn. This match was set up when Billy Gunn, guess he mooned Ken Shamrock's sister in the crowd. Then this match would begin with Shamrock jumping Gunn at the bell. They would battle it out, with Gunn getting the early advantage. Later in the match, Billy Gunn would hit the famous serve for a 2 count. Shamrock would kick out. They both would do an Irish whip reversal spot where Shamrock would accidentally knock out the official, which would lead to Val Venus coming out and hitting a DDT on Shamrock and then exit. He too, I guess, had issues with Ken over his sister as well. In the end, Billy would go for a flying clothesline and would miss. His ankle would buckle, which would lead to Ken Shamrock getting him with the ankle lock and making him submit for the win. So Ken Shamrock would retain the Intercontinental Championship, and we both agreed to give this one 2.5. Not a bad match. It was okay, but
yeah, it was all right. Definitely better than the first bout.
Yeah.
It's gonna be very interesting here because the beginning of the Rumble is like taking over DX, and so far they ain't doing so well.
Yeah. The next we'd have a backstage segment with Vince, Shane, Patterson, and Briscoe, basically just getting Vince all like hyped for the Rumble match, getting him like in that zone, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Then afterwards we'd have our third match of the evening, which would be for the European Championship. It'd be the Champ X-Pac defending against Gangrel.
Yep, that's the reason why I stated what I stated.
Yeah. Not to run through things quickly here, but
it was not to cut you off.
No.
But it was very quick.
Yeah, and this is typically how things go a lot of the times, especially like at a Rumble. Like usually there's like one match they may give like a fair amount of time to, and then everything else they kind of just run through.
Yeah.
Especially the Rumble, that pretty much gets like all the time for the most part.
I would say so.
But getting, I guess, back to this match, we'd have the European title, short title match, to say the least. I think it just barely ran under like 5 minutes. X-Pac would win with the X Factor, retain the title, 1.5 stars.
Really, it was only under 5 minutes, man. I thought it was quicker than that.
I know, actually.
Felt quicker.
Felt like it could have been quicker than that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then following that, we'd have a backstage DX segment or interview, whatever you want to call it. They'd have like a promo where every member is involved in this one except for Billy Gunn. Then after that, we'd have the Women's Championship on the line in a strap match.
Yes, you heard that correctly.
Yes, it would be Sable versus Luna Vachon. Prior to this match, Shane would make his way to the ringside area to join King and Cole on commentary, coming out to some rather horrible entrance music, to say the least.
Dude, horrible can't describe that entrance music.
Yeah, definitely isn't as good as Here Comes the Money.
No.
Then we'd have the Four Corners rule would be in effect for the strap match. I guess in terms of what happened in this match, once again, not very lengthy, so not really a lot to say about it, but just a couple things to point out here. I guess one thing to say is thankfully the strap match stipulation was in effect, because had this just been a regular singles one-on-one match, I mean,
it probably would have lasted like 30 seconds.
Yeah, especially at this time. So, yeah, there wouldn't have been much great to say about it. In the end, Shane would get up on the apron and distract the referee. While he was distracting the official, a fan would knock out Luna. The fan would later be revealed as Tori, known for the one being with DX and even Kane at one point in time. Sable would touch the fourth turnbuckle and get the win in the strap match and would retain the women's title.
Yeah. Did we put in
star and a quarter?
Yeah. Did we also mention what because they mentioned Heat a couple times. They had a little thing on Heat, and then apparently Sable had like a little back injury kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot to even put that in the notes.
I mean, it's not no, but like.
Well, no, I mean it plays into like this, I guess. So, I mean, it's probably something maybe I should have put in there, but okay.
All right, moving on.
In the back, we'd have Boss Man Ken Shamrock and Tess discussing the $1,000 bounty placed on Austin for whoever would be able to eliminate Austin would receive $100,000, which was placed by Vince. Then after this, we'd have, one of the reasons why we wanted to cover this show, which would be the WWF Championship match, which would be stip for this one would be, of course, an I Quit match. Very famous match, actually.
Very.
In more ways than one. We'd see Mankind defend his newly won title against The Rock.
This was very good.
For several different stipulation matches, including a no disqualification, false count anywhere, and even a match where the corporation is barred from ringside. Eventually, Foley would go along with the stipulation of an I Quit match. The footage of his King of the Death match tournament in his famous Hell in a Cell matchup with The Undertaker would be shown in this.
Yep.
Then after that, we'd have Michael Hayes would try to interview The Rock prior to the match. Then going into the match, first Foley would ask Rock if he wanted to quit. This is like the first time he was trying to ask him to quit. But The Rock would tell him, The Rock says you can kiss his, and before he could finish the line, Foley would hit him with the mic.
Several times.
Then Foley would later ask him again, and Rock would say that he's going to kick his fat ass. They'd battle outside the ring. The Rock would send him flying into, or maybe rather over, the steel steps.
As always.
While Foley was recovering, Rock would do a little commentary. Then Foley would attack him from behind. He'd send the Rock into the timekeeper's table. He'd later ask Rock if he wanted to quit again, and he would refuse. Foley would hit the double arm DDT and put on the mandible claw. And then Earl Hebner would ask Rock if he wanted to quit, but he was too out of it at the time. And then next, Mankind would toss Rock into the crowd. Then Rock would get back in control with a belly-to-belly over the barrier. He'd ring Foley's head with the ring bell.
Yeah, you can just imagine. You can pop someone's eardrum doing that.
Yeah. Then Rock would... first we're going over a couple of things here. Then Rock would go for the rock bottom on the announce table, but the table would break prematurely. He'd ask Foley if he wanted to quit, but he'd say no. Then they'd go to the entranceway. Rock would set up a ladder by the set, and Foley would follow him up there. They'd move across the top of the ledge up there, and Rock would go low on Foley. He'd knock him off the top where he'd land on top of some electrical equipment, which would take out the lights in the building temporarily.
I think there's only the lights in that spot, it looked like.
Yeah, maybe the lights in that spot, actually. But Shane McMahon would try to call off the match, but The Rock would basically demand that he didn't. Then he'd bring Foley back down to the ring. He'd handcuff him. Foley would fight back, but ultimately it was too much.
This is where it gets. Graphic.
Yeah, he was starting to bleed at some point, like here, and then The Rock would hit the corporate elbow on the chair, but still could not get Mankind to quit. But then he'd proceed to nail Mankind with 10 unprotected chair shots to the head. While he basically knocked him out, I guess, Rock would eventually then hold a microphone to Foley's head where you'd hear his voice yell and scream, "I quit," which ended up being an audio bit from a segment earlier that took place that night on Heat. But yeah, I thought this was a great match.
This was very good. I thought that spot with all the equipment.
Yeah, that was great, and it's just like the funny lines in between when they're asking him to quit. I mean, that was great stuff. So.
Yeah, the Rock's lines were funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, when aren't they?
Yeah,
really?
when aren't they funny? But
yeah, this is like when he's like, this is like heel corporation Rock. He's like still coming into his own at the time. This is like when he's I won't say on the rise, because I mean he'd been on the rise for like the last year or two, like with the Nation, but this is like him first becoming like that main event star. So it's still really early in those years. So becoming one of the biggest stars in the history of the business. But yeah, I went ahead and gave this 4 1/4. I love this.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I believe.
Yeah, you gave it 4.
Oh yeah, I gave it 4.
But yeah, The Rock would win and would become the new WWF champ.
Yeah, some side notes.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it was, I say graphic because Mick Foley's family would actually be in the front row. They would say, which
right here later on, they didn't acknowledge it, but
yeah, later on we would hear it that they were, but obviously at the time. Definitely not what you want to see.
Right. You definitely don't want your family to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next we have the 30-man Royal Rumble match.